Welcome to this week's MTD Live Question Time, where you at home have the opportunity to ask the questions you may have. I'm today's guest, Gio Albanese, hosting today's show, and I'm joined by Mark Stocks, Technical Director for SolidCAM UK. Mark, sincere apologies about the technical problems there. It's something that totally caught me off track there. But lovely to have you here today, Mark, and thank you very much for investing your time. How you been? All right?
No, it's been very good. It's been very good. Strange times, but very good. Yeah.
Are you still playing golf or practicing in the garden?
When did we play? It must be 3 years ago we played, wasn't it? Something like that. I probably played not much since then. I've had knee replacements on both sides over the last couple of years, and obviously with this now. No, we're looking forward to get back out on the course, though.
Oh, brilliant stuff. Now, Mark, it is definitely unprecedented times at the minute. At SolidCAM, how have you been finding things? You know, how have you been continuing to work?
Obviously things have changed. We're now all working from home. We're all working remotely on there, which seems to be working pretty well. We're all in constant contact with each other, so nothing's really changed from that point of view. In terms of working with customers on there, the only thing which obviously was slowed us down a little bit, we're very hands-on. We like to go on site. We like to visit to make sure everything's working as it possibly can. That side of things is having to be done remotely, which is completely different to what we're used to on there. Other than that, training is still going ahead. We're doing a lot of online training on there. We're doing a lot of online webinars on that. And obviously general support is still in place.
Brilliant stuff. Now, Mark, you're a true engineer, an advocate for engineering, and you definitely help people with the solutions that you offer. Tell us firstly a little bit about yourself, how you got into engineering, and also a slight overview or a brief overview about SolidCAM UK and the solutions that you offer as a company, please.
Okay. Strange, when I was at school, and obviously you come to your sort of fourth and fifth year as it was then. I don't know what years they call them now. It's completely changed since I was at school. But the last 2 years at school on there, we then sort of had a choice of which streams to go on to. So it was a case of, okay, what do we want to sort of try and do? And I was always interested in sort of making stuff and things like that. And if I looked in the local paper, that a lot of jobs around at the time were manufacturing, so it seemed an obvious route for myself to go into. So that was sort of the roots of it. So once I'd left school, got an apprenticeship at a local company from there. That lasted, well, I did the first 3 years at one company and then moved on to a second company, because the second company were offering a lot more in terms of exposure to certain disciplines in manufacturing on that. So sort of transferred my apprenticeship mid-time and did the last sort of couple of years there. Where I got really lucky, I was doing day release at college at the time, and the college sent a letter around to all the employees on there asking them to give them the students as much exposure to CNC at the time as they possibly could. Now, obviously, some places couldn't because it didn't have, the machines weren't so readily available and so common as they are now. So, but that was one of the reasons why I'd moved to this company, because they had quite a lot of CNCs there. And it happened to be that the time that letter landed on the boss's desk on that, the CNC programmer just left, or just about to leave. So they pulled me straight away up into the programming office, and to a very early age, I was involved in programming. So at that particular point there, it was on an old Olivetti-based system, GTL3. I don't know if anybody remembers that. It was basically command line, no graphics, no simulations or anything else on there, but very, very powerful software in terms of what you could actually do with it. We cut impellers and all sorts of things on there. It's all sort of maths-based and logic-based on there. So we could do all of that. We did move forward a little bit. We bought Dux 3.2 at the time, as it was. Went on training with that. So from there, that would have been late 80s, 87, 88, I would guess, on there. I then I've actually moved house, so I'd moved down to the south coast, joined a precision engineering company down there, and was mold making, tool making, CNC programming, setting, operating, doing pretty much. I was the CNC department down there, so it gave me great exposure to programming directly onto some machine tools, using the command or the language on the machines, and also offline programming from there. In '95, I moved again, and in this particular case, I joined actually CADCAM on Path Trace at that particular point, and I was 7 years there from applications engineer through to international sales and then domestic sales. At the end of that, which is the end of 2001, I joined another local company up in Yorkshire on that, which is where I met Gordon Drysdale, Managing Director of SolidCAM there. And unfortunately, sort of a couple of months after joining that company went under because the product they were selling, they lost the license to sell it in the UK. So basically they had no product to sell. Gordon phoned me up then and said, well, the last day they were looking at SolidCAM as an alternative. Obviously, this company is no more. Do you want to look at setting up the business in the UK? So in 2002, we set up SolidCAM UK. So that's where we come from there. So basically from two of us, we've now been in business for 18 years now. And yeah, we've gone through various changes. We've changed a lot in terms of the setup, in terms of personnel there. We've now got a very, very strong team based in the UK. Probably the best, I would say, without a shadow of a doubt, the best team we've actually ever had in terms of personnel. And that's to a man. Everybody is, if you like it, standing up to the plate for us and going the extra mile on there. We got involved in a few things because over in Germany, the SolidCAM operation over there set up technology centres, and this was to demonstrate the software, but also show the capabilities for testing and everything else. And they put two machines into the Schramberg office straight away on there, which was a Hermle 5-axis machine and an NTX 1000 first generation mill turn machine. So this was there so they could demonstrate the capabilities of SolidCAM, but also there for seminars showing the complete solution with partners and that sort of thing. And this came across really well. So we've been across to Schramberg and had a look at this and thought, yes, we need to do that in the UK as well. So we've set up initially a technology centre just outside Milton Keynes. Originally, we had one machine in there, which I think you've come to and seen that facility. Originally, we did seminars from there, which worked very, very well. And we wanted to go bigger on that and see what else we could do with that. So we actually moved that technology centre up to Barnsley, which is where the main office is, and moved the main office, say, from just an office facility to a unit where we've now got, or will have very soon, 3 machines in there. We've had 3 in there. One's just gone out. We've got another one coming in. Full seminar facilities there, training facilities, and we've got all the offices under one roof in there.
Oh, Mark, you're certainly well renowned as a company for your seminars, your training, and as you mentioned, I can remember we did some joint seminars together back in the day. Definitely something that, in my opinion, is very, very important. You're definitely kind of hands-on with your clients. Now, Ali Tech on YouTube says hi from Australia. Don't forget, you can ask any questions to Mark live today. Well, I'm not sure, Mark. Mark, next question. Why, in your opinion, is CAD-CAM so important nowadays?
There's a couple of reasons why CAD-CAM can be very important. It's a strange, in a way, and this is being totally honest, not the SolidCAM hat on or anything like that. It's a strange part of the manufacturing link, to be quite honest, because you've got your tooling, you've got your machine tool, you've got your work holding on there, which all have direct, if you like, contact. They are essential parts of the manufacturing environment on there. You don't have one of those, you don't cut anything. But you can still have your NC program without CAD-CAM. So effectively, you can still cut parts. You can go and write the program on the machine. You can go and cut parts, and yeah, you can manufacture. So CAD-CAM, if you like, from that point of view, is not actually part of your essential stock, if you like, of products on there. So CAD-CAM then has to become something as an extra, as a tool, as something to bring something else to the party on there. So it has to then actually improve cycle times, improve tool life on there, improve machine life on there by cutting differently, create setups much quicker on there, basically make the process a lot more streamlined. And that's from giving the information to set the part up quickly to actually generating optimum tool paths on there to improve efficiency on there. But it's all got to do all of that with all the power in encompassing all the new strategies, all the new tooling, all the new types of machine on there, to make this more efficient on there, but also to make it easy to use as well. So while we're seeing that nowadays on there, there seems to be probably over the last probably 5 or 10 years on there, big and vast improvements and advancements in trying different things, if you like, different strategies coming out for cutting with these specific types of tools on there. We're seeing that obviously with the iMachining coming out on there, the optimizing that with the solid carbide style of tools. That's also being developed as well for inserted tools on there as well, so we can then not just work on smaller components but on bigger ones on there. There's obviously different strategies now coming out in turning as well, and those are things which typically are very difficult to support if you do this manually. So this is where CAD-CAM is really coming into it. The second part of that as well is that possibly when I was first involved in manufacturing and probably for the first 10-15 years of my involvement in manufacturing on there, the skills were around within the industry and readily available in the industry, if you like, to cut the parts, to program bits and pieces on the machine to do this. And that's not always the case at the moment. There was a big drop in sort of people coming into manufacturing maybe in the 90s and that sort of thing, which is where, if you like, they would be at their most productive now. And that's not... So we've got a bit of a gap at the moment or hopefully coming towards the end of that gap now, and people coming back into manufacturing. But we certainly had it's like a skills gap in there. So that in some cases we've had it where employees, if you like, programmers have effectively been holding companies to ransom on there, saying, I want this amount of money because without me, you're not manufacturing any parts. So it gives, if you like, protection to the company as well. That's not just, okay, I'm not saying anybody can go in and program with SolidCAM and get parts out of there. You're still going to have to need some skills of knowing how to cut and to machine on there, but it becomes a lot simpler.
I think, skill levels is definitely a valid point, which we hear all the time. And with automation, Industry 4.0 and all the new technologies that are coming into play, it's certainly, making our lives a lot more simpler as engineers. Now, we're going to be touching on skill levels a lot more, and also all the evolution and the advancements of machine tools, cutting tool strategies, as you mentioned. But with so many CAD-CAM providers out there, what makes your solutions different?
I think going back into the history of SolidCAM a little bit, SolidCAM has been around for a long time. It was first developed and first out in 1984, so right back at the beginning of the infancy of CAD-CAM, if you like. So it's been long developed, long changed, obviously grown and developed as industries changed, as technologies changed on there. But where SolidCAM made a very wise decision, in my opinion, on this is when software moved from DOS to Windows, which is sort of back end of the 90s on there, a lot of software was either redeveloped, it was ported to Windows on there, so it became a different product, or it was the same product with like a DOS interface within Windows on there. SolidCAM went slightly differently onto that, and they decided, well, why do we carry on developing our own CAD front end? Our expertise is in machining, and there's software out there which is just purely developed for design on there. Why don't we work with them, use their front end on this, and we'll just concentrate on the manufacturing? So originally that used to be with AutoCAD originally. That was the first one on there, and then Mechanical Desktop and MicroStation on there, and obviously then SolidWorks became more popular on that. So you've got a lot more interaction, if you like, working with different softwares, working with different parts on there. So we've had the gold status with SolidWorks since 2003 and with Inventor from 2005. So again, we've got very good interaction with that side of things on there, which makes it a lot simpler to use. It makes it a lot different. We've been involved in integrating CAD-CAM for a very, very long time now. That gives us, if you like, I mean, I'm taking SolidWorks as an example on this, but obviously Inventor's very, very similar on that. You've got a lot of universities, a lot of technology centres and that sort of thing working on SolidWorks. So you know half the product already. So from that point of view, it's very, very easy to use. It uses the same method of work and everything else as your current CAD software on there. What we've also done on there is to develop a lot more different strategies and a lot more different systems within that as well. So by keeping the ease of use and everything in there, we're also now getting or putting a lot more power into it as well. When you first saw SolidCAM back in 2002, it's a completely different animal to it is now. I mean, iMachining was one of the big game changers which came out. I think it was released in 2011. Our first exposure in the UK to it was in 2010. And typically the first part I cut on it was titanium, which is okay. A good bit of fun for us. So we had a good bit of fun with that. Didn't break any tools, cut it beautifully. But yeah, it's very, very powerful software. It's very, very simple to use on that. And we have the integration with the main streamlined CAD companies as well. So not only the power, we work in all industries on there, and we try and keep the ease use as well. From a SolidCAM UK point of view, we've always worked on the principle that we'll try and put the customer first in every instance on that. We're very, very customer focused from that point of view. Support of our existing customer pretty much comes above everything else which we do. We've had times before where support, if you like, has come first. A couple of examples of that have been customers where they've phoned up, need support on there because their machine is now waiting, it's costing them money, which is why support for CAD-CAM is slightly different to maybe a lot of other things. If the customer's phoning up with a problem, they're quite often not actually working, their machine's stopped, and it's costing them money to do that. So we've had a couple of times where the calls have come through onto this, and it's been while, if you like, myself or some other engineers being out on the way to do a demonstration, a sales demonstration, and we're in the vicinity, so we've stopped the demonstration on there, sorted out the problem on that, rather than go to the sales pitch. And we phoned up, obviously contacted the prospect we're going to see on that, let them know, and every time they say, yes, go and do that, because it might be us next time.
Absolutely, and I think there's some really valid points there. Now, you mentioned ease of use.
Yeah.
Simplification of programming is obviously massive when looking to invest in CAD-CAM, especially with the complexity of the components nowadays. I mean, some of these components you couldn't program manually directly into the machine anymore. And you mentioned earlier on in question time advancements in cutting strategies, advancements in machine tools, advancements in work holding. These are also key areas for everything to work correctly and to get the maximum profitability out of your process and the maximum efficiency. But how do you as engineers keep up with all this technology and evolution? Not just your software, but you as engineers.
We're quite fortunate in the UK, to be quite honest, because we have the technology centre with the machines in there. Obviously, we get exposure to it. We can go and play. We can go and test things as we go along. We also are heavily involved in a lot of tooling companies on there. So as new strategies come out, or they develop tooling to cut in a different way on there, they'll come and talk to us. What can we do about this? How can we support that? Exactly the same on the machine tool side of things. If they develop something else, then they'll come and talk to us as well on that front. So it's not just a case of us being stuck in an office or stuck remotely from that point of view. We're in constant contact with machine tool people, with tooling companies. If something's coming out on there, if we go right back to the origins, if you like, of side grooving, I believe, and I say I could be corrected in this, but the first people who developed this was ISCAR, and they put it out that they could actually put a grooving tool in, instead of just plunging with it, can cut on the side of the tool as well and make it more efficient from that point of view. The problem at that point of view is they had no software which could actually generate these strategies. There's no cycle on the machine for it. So that was, again, something which was put out to CAD-CAM. Okay, we need to support this. So it's the same sort of thing. It's just communication, if you like, with a lot of the partners on there. and again, we'll come up with different things. Okay, if we generate a toolpath like this, can we cut with it? We'll go back the other way, and we'll say, okay, can we put some tooling together or put some strategies together to actually work in a different way, and just try it sometimes. But we've got the facilities with the technology centre to do just that.
What would you say to engineers that are running low volume work, one-offs, work that doesn't repeat, and that are still programming directly into their machine tools? Would this software benefit them still, or can you still save them money?
I mean, that's really where CADCAM does come into its own, because if you're programming for one part on there, then your 100% of your programming time comes up for your bottom line. Whereas if you're programming 10 parts, you can effectively divide that by 10. So one-offs on there, yes, you need to make sure that your programming is as quick and easy to do as possible. Your machining time may not be so critical. If it takes this component one-off on there, takes an extra 2 or 3 minutes to machine, it's not going to be the end of the world because you're only machining one of them. But where the critical time is there is on the actual programming side. So that's where we'll put strategies together on there to automatically work with solid models. So pick out, okay, here's some features, here we go and work on that. So I'm just reading down the side as well. Okay, I'll get some let's get some comments down the side of the screen, which I'm just trying to get accustomed to as well. So yeah, so that becomes a lot more critical if you're just doing one-off to actually get your program time as it's the programming time down to as short as possible. And say there's strategies and there's options within SolidCAM to do that.
We have actually had a question come in, Mark. If I'm currently using a different provider's solution, how easy is it for me to swap over to SolidCAM, and how easy will it be for my programmers to learn? That's from Dave Howells.
Okay. Typically on something like that, I mean, if you've been using CAM software before, switching systems is usually fairly straightforward because you understand how the basics work on there. SolidCAM is a very, very straightforward product to use. I mean, it's very difficult for me to comment on that because I've been around CADCAM for a long, long time. So picking up new systems from there is relatively straightforward, how it has been in the past for me. But feedback from people who have made the move from other systems tell us exactly that yeah, within sort of a day or two, they're getting productive with it, even if they've had training or they're just picking it up and playing with it for themselves.
So it's an easy transition. Now, Mark, it would have been Mac a few weeks back, and we all sadly missed this show, but obviously there are greater purposes that the NEC is being used for at the minute. SolidCAM would have been exhibiting at Mac 2020. What new products would we have seen?
What we've got planned at Mac on there, for the last 3-4 Macs now, we've had a machine on the stand cutting live on that, typically showing eye machining on there, showing the advantages to it. One of the things which we've always been labelled with on there, we advertise all this these time savings which you can actually get by using these strategies on there. We're very keen to prove it, hence the Technology Centre, hence the machine on the stands at the exhibitions on there, so we can actually prove what we're actually claiming on that. So it's very important for that. This time we were going a little different. We have a 5-axis machine which is going to be on the stand. Say the Rory DCM 5X on there would have been on the stand there. So we would be showing eye machining off, but not just in one plane, obviously in multiple planes on multiple angles on there. We would have been showing some 5-axis roughing techniques on there, but also barrel cutting as well on that. Interacting with that, obviously, that's one part we were running live on there. The other big thing which we're pushing at the moment on there is our support for Swiss style machines for sliding heads and for complex mill turn on there. So we would have also been showing the actual Swiss type products in there as well. So videos and actually live demonstrations of that. Unfortunately, we wouldn't have had a machine on the stand to actually show it, but that would have been on the plan to maybe do in 2 years' time. Now
you mentioned you would have had the Romy 5th axis full simultaneous at the show, and that would have been demonstrating some of the new strategies, which I'll move on to shortly. Let's firstly touch upon the new solutions that you have for Swiss type for sliders. Why, in your opinion, are people not using more CAM packages for sliding head machines. Why is this a big avenue, if you like, for engineers to really maximize productivity?
It's basically, a lot of it's down to the actual support from the CAD-CAM companies for this style of machine. There's very few companies out there which offer much in the way of support for sliding heads on there. They are complex machines on there. They're multi-channel. They have superimposition on them, so multi-axis can work together on that. We need all the channels, all the axis patterns and everything else to be supported on certain machines, so we can switch between different configurations of how the axes work together. There's a lot going on in a very small area on there, and a lot of potential for getting it wrong on that. So I would guess at the moment on there, there's very few companies offering the full solution in this particular area on that. We see this as big incremental business, or potential incremental business for us on this. We've held back a little bit. The products and the Swiss type has been available inside SolidCAM for a year or so now in terms of having good support. We waited until we got absolutely excellent support on there. So we wanted the last few bits of functionality to be added to it, which we've got now and have had for a little while on that now. So it's all very well going after a market, but it's from our point of view, what we wanted to make sure is we had everything in place, so that not just all the machine simulation, so we can simulate absolutely everything. We need all the superimposition, all the axis patterns, everything supported on there, all the post processes in a position where we can develop them and tweak them if we needed to. And that's now all in place. We've all set up a division within SolidCAM UK on there purely for supporting and configuring the post process for these types of machine on there. We feel it's very important to have local support for this. We don't need to be going back to resource, if you like, in other countries for all of this. We want all of this in the UK, so we can have a quick turnaround. Somebody's got a problem on there, we can handle it from the UK, and we don't have to sort of get too many other people involved on that. So it's big ethos of ours is that we can't support it from the UK, we won't sell it. Simple as that.
I think I'm quite excited about this really, and MTD CNC have obviously got their tribute video that will be going live tomorrow from all of our clients in regards to what new technology and innovations they would have been exhibiting at MAC. And Ben Miller from SolidCAM UK will also be involved with that show, and we'll also be producing some technical corners on the Swiss type solutions and strategies, and also on the fifth axis. Now, before we move on to the fifth axis solutions and strategies, if I was a sliding head user that was producing very high volume work, and I didn't feel that there was a necessity for me to use CAD-CAM in my production facility, where would the main benefits come from using your CAD-CAM solution?
If you've got a program which you've written by hand and is running completely optimized, then CAD-CAM's not going to do anything for you. It's on there. CAD-CAM's going to make the programming of the next part a lot simpler, a lot more streamlined on there. And where the advantages may well be is maybe in some cutting strategies. If you've written a program by hand and you've tweaked everything, moved weight codes manually to get the optimum on there, then in terms of optimizing the actual program, CAD-CAM's not going to do anything for you. It doesn't matter what system it is on there, you can always optimize it more if you do it by hand. Where we get extra time savings on there may be in different strategies which we're using on there. Trochoidal turning, which you're not going to program by hand, and various other strategies like that. OKI machining would give us extras, but we don't tend to come across that too much on the Swiss style on there, although it is available if you ever needed it. So it's more the strategies than the actual programming on there. Obviously the next part, if you had a long run running for several months, if you like, which happens in some cases on there, and now you're moving on to the next part, then obviously we can help you generate, and it will make the next part a lot quicker to program. But in terms of optimization on there, totally frank on there, if you've optimized it to the nth degree within the NC code, you're not going to get anything out of CAM to do that. It'll only be in the strategies.
I mean, what I have seen, Mark, is some of the advanced mill turn features that you offer for the 3D milling and the full fifth axis simultaneous on a sliding head. I mean, this is very powerful. There must be big savings there to be had for sure.
Absolutely. And those are the areas which are very difficult to program by hand. So yes, something like that on there. A lot of the machines now, so the M32, the D25 from Citizen, the SV on there, the SR38 from Star, and that type of thing have got all the 5 axis on the SX on there. The new one's got 5 axis capability on there. So it's becoming more and more important to get these strategies supported, if you like, on there. Now that's one of the things which has always been supported within SolidCAM, the 5 axis on there, because it's part of our core product anyway. So just adding that to the mill turn side of things, or to that, it's always been there. So it's just really a case of supporting that in terms of post-processor and output from that point of view. Where it becomes, and we've got, say, developments coming through now, which are going to be hit us in the summer, which will make this even simpler on there. Some machines on there have like a standard rotary turret on there, tool turret on there, but then they can put attachments on the tool turret to make that full 5 axis as well. And okay, we can support that at the moment through doing a few tricks in the G code on there, but this will actually become natural within the new tool library on there, where you can build up an assembly of parts, including extra axis and extra rotary axis on there as part of the solution on there. That just becomes natural as part of the new tool table inside SolidCAM 2021, which is we're playing around with and will be out in the summer.
Really impressive stuff, and I'm sure that some sliding head users will really benefit significantly through using this additional software.
Well, we've had good feedback from who we've been talking to, yeah.
It'd be good to come out and see it in the field as well when we come out of this lockdown, Mark. Moving on to the, I'm looking forward to it. Moving on to the 5th axis milling machines. Now, obviously, you know, this is an area in which CADCAM has been used the most, in my opinion. But when we look at conical barrel cutters have been around for a long time, for years. But now they're being used in this new cutting strategy with 5th axis simultaneous machining. Are 70% cycle reductions and above really achievable?
Absolutely, because the alternative on there is on these, say, sidewalls or on these features which they want to machine on there. Typically, at the moment, they're doing this with a ball nose tool and scanning it. So whereas you maybe got a 6mm tool which you're scanning on there, you may have a 0.1 step over or something else like that on there. This is going to cut it, it's going to cut it fine, because you're limited by the cusp generated by the ball nose on there to generate the step over, or to have the step over, so you generate your surface finish you want. If you've got, say, an 80mm radius on there, because we're now cutting on the side of the tool and cutting a different part on there, we can have 7-8mm step over and achieve the same surface finish. So instead of 0.1 going to sort of 7mm, you've achieved at least that just in step overs, just reducing the amount of cuts on there.
No, it's absolutely phenomenal, and that would have been one of your live demos at MAC.
Yeah.
Now you'll have that machine soon at your facility also. Mark, we're coming to the end of the show, but if people want to learn more about SolidCAM, you're doing many of these webinars. When's your next webinar, and how should people attend?
Next webinar's on Thursday. Just look it up so I get the date right. Yeah, Thursday the 7th at 11 o'clock. On there, I believe is it going across the bottom of the screen now? Or it was. There's a link for it on there. It's on. I know it's on LinkedIn on there. If somebody wants to contact on there, then we can certainly send you the link. That's not a problem. But that's open to everybody on there. The one on Thursday is for what's new in SolidCAM 2020, just to recap on what came out earlier in the year on that, and also a few tips and tricks. But we're also running seminars on Swiss type, on 5-axis as well. But we're also carrying on with a lot of web-orientated stuff, so online training and things like that as well.
And I think this is a perfect opportunity for engineers out there at the minute to really re-educate themselves and to really look at the processes and to see how they can improve their current processes, for sure. Absolutely. Mark, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on MTD Live Question Time today. Yep. Sincere apologies for the technical issues
down here, which I didn't actually get to. So if there are any other questions, if there are anybody, please need any more information, then please get in touch with us.
No, absolutely, Mark, and I really appreciate your time and coming on to live question time. And again, sorry, sincere apologies about the technical issues at the beginning of the show. Well, that's it for today's question time. Thank you very much for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure. If you've got any other questions, please don't hesitate to ask. You can watch the full show again on the MTD website. But for this week, it's been a pleasure talking to SolidCAM UK.
Thanks, Gio.